Hello everyone. Welcome to the session Agatha Christie and India. First of all, I would like to thank International Agatha Christie Festival for inviting me to give this talk. It's a huge privilege. Thank you. Today's talk is going to be divided into three sections. The first one is Agatha Christie and me. I want to tell you a little bit about my connection to Agatha Christie. The second part is Agatha Christie and India. And the third part is India and Agatha Christie. So let's begin. Let me first begin with my story. There are several reasons why I was happy to do this talk. Well, of course, the first one is that, there's no one like Agatha Christie. She is the best. She's the most celebrated author, queen of crime, written more than 66 books and plays. But for me, mostly, I think she is a benchmark. She's an inspiration. Everyone aspires to be like Agatha Christie. But of course, there's only one Agatha Christie. But everyone aspires to achieve that kind of ingenuity of plots and novels and success. For me personally, I know that she has actually shaped my writing. I've learned so much from her novels. I've learned about characters, about multi-layering of characters, how the characters take the story forward. I learned how suspense can be kept alive, right till the end. And of course, the grand finale in the end. So, most importantly, I think the wisdom that Christie imparts through the words of the characters has also kind of influenced me in my writing. There's another reason why I also wanted to give this talk. I've always felt a kind of an unusual connect to Christie. I think a lot of writers would say that they have a special connect with her, but I feel that I do really have a special connect, and I'll tell you why. It was in 2015 when I was invited to the International Agatha Christie Festival for the 125th birth anniversary that I began researching on her background, family, etc. And I suddenly realized that there were startling, kind of parallels between her life and my life. For example, there were facts that were related to her parents, then there were the death of her father, then there were reading habits, loving dogs. Well, I am a crazy dog lover, and I know that she loved dogs too. Then being born in the same month, we are both September born, and of course publishing her first novel, and even the fact that she was married, her first husband was the son of a barrister. My husband is the son of a judge. So it didn't end there. Later on when I went to Turkey and I went to Greenway, her holiday home, and I saw all these beautiful, paths going down from the house to the boathouse. I saw her piano, her armchair, and I felt a kind of an ease, a kind of a knowing, a kind of a sense of peace and belonging. And I found it really very strange that I could connect with, Christie and her home in such a way. And I even wrote about it for the Nat Geo. And I would call this a cosmic connection that surpasses time and age. And that is why I feel I have this very special connect with her. But overall, and having said all of this, I know that she has been my spirit mentor. I know that through her, I have learned mystery writing, and she's acted like a guiding spirit to me. I used to do my Facebook lives, called Manjiri Monologues, and I invited Matthew Pritchard, her grandson, for it, and he was very kind enough to sit and chat with me. And when I was chatting with him, I felt as if I was almost chatting with Christie, because he was so generous and so forthcoming about, his memories and his stories, and it was a marvelous experience. And finally, The Mousetrap, the longest running play. I had heard so much about it, I wanted to see it. And luckily for us, in its 66th year, The Mousetrap came to Mumbai, and I was over the moon. So, well, I went all the way from Pune to Mumbai to experience this longest running play and to literally immerse in original Christie extravaganza. And I have to tell you, it was an amazing experience. Well, Christie and India. For me, Christie's first connection is, of course, her personal life, It is said that she met her first husband, Archie Christie, during a dance. And they had a whirlwind romance, and after 3 months, he proposed to her and she accepted. But here's the interesting part. Archie Christie was the son of a barrister who was in the Indian Civil Service. So that is an interesting India connect, don't you think? Another interesting connection of hers is with her first novel. Hotel Savoy is a magnificent Edwardian style hotel in Missouri. But you know what it is famous for? It is famous for a mystery of the murder of a certain Lady Garnet, who was found dead in one of the rooms uh, way back in 1911. So the story goes like this, that in the summer of 1911, the spinster Lady Garnet, who was a spiritualist, traveled to Hotel Savoy with a certain Lady Eva Mount Stephen, who was also a spiritualist from Lucknow. Now, one morning, Lady Garnet was found dead in her room and the doors were closed. And, in the autopsy, there were traces of hydrogen cyanide that were found. And so, the police assumed that it was suicide. However, Lady Mount Stephen, Eva Mount Stephen, suddenly decided that she had some urgent work, and that same morning she, went to Lucknow. So the suspicion immediately transferred to her. And later she was convicted for tampering with the sodium bicarbonate bottle. However, there was not enough conviction against her, and there was not enough proof, and she had to be let go. Now, another interesting thing that happened was that at the same time, the doctor who had conducted the autopsy was also found dead. So this whole surroundings were very, very mysterious, and the whole story was mysterious, and the police were confounded. Now, Rudyard Kipling sent the facts of this case to his friend Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and the facts again traveled to Agatha Christie. Now, Christie did not solve the case, but Savoy Hotel and the story did inspire her, apparently, it said, to write The Mysterious Affair at Styles. So the connection of her first novel is also to India. Some of Agatha Christie's characters also have an India connect, and I'm going to read out a list to you. We have General Arundel, who had been in India during the Indian Mutiny of 1857. Then there's Mr. Larkin, a retired judge, who had worked in India. Then there's Gwenda Reed. She was also born in India but grew up in New Zealand. Mrs. Swettenham, who lived in India for some time with her husband and young son. Colonel Wright, one of Miss Marple's village parallels. Then also Colonel Carter, another character from the murder of Roger Ackroyd, who had served in India during the Great War. Grace Hastings, the daughter of Arthur Hastings, was supposed to live in India with her husband. And there were many characters in the novel Elephants Can Remember who had spent time in India. So, this information is available on the net, and I'm just reading it out to you. But those who read the books will immediately connect with the, India connection. Christie and poisons. Christie is famous for using a variety of poisons in her novels. But did you know that there is also an India connect here? So says British chemist and author Catherine Harkup. In her book, A is for Arsenic, The Poisons of Agatha Christie, she says that Christie learned all about poisons and their uses when she was working in a pharmacy during both the world wars. And I'm going to quote Harkup here. I have looked into the Ayurveda system of medicine during my research, as Christie used examples of native Indian plants as sources for her poisons. Christie would have used atropine, strychnine, and aconitine in the preparations she made as an apothecary's assistant. All of these compounds can be obtained from plants that are native to India. I looked at the example of the use of these compounds in the Ayurveda system, particularly atropine. So Christie has never been to India, but this is how she's been connected to India through her personal life, through her first novel, through her poisons, and of course her characters. India and Agatha Christie. Well, the world knows the Hindi cinema as Bollywood, and also that we have this whole song and dance routine. So, any adaptation has to be Indianized for us, for our audience, using the Indian flavors and, the Indian atmosphere. But we have been producing thrillers and suspense way back since the 1950s. I'm going to give you a list of some films that are Indian films. For example, we had films like CID, 36 Chinatown, Wo Kaun Thi, Mera Saya, Ittifaq, Victoria 203, Jewel Thief, The Train, etc. These were all hit films and the audience loved them. And in 1965 came another film titled Gumna. Now, I remember seeing this film as a child, and I was very excited to see it because it had a fantastic plot. There were these people stranded, on an island, and they come to a bungalow where, one by one they're killed off. And at the end of it, the suspense was so fantastic, the grand finale was so amazing. And I always wondered, how did the writer come up with such a plot? And I was totally fascinated. So my first introduction to Christie was through this film, because later on I realized this film was based on the famous novel And Then They Were None. I think by far the most famous novel to be adapted is this book. And I would like to show you a clip from this film, Gumnaam, which is a song. And the song says that, everything is so momentary, and tomorrow is a dream, so live for today and pray for tomorrow. So those kind of words, and here's the clip. I hope you enjoy it. Years, there have been several adaptations of her novels in different languages, and I'm going to give you a list of these films. They're in Bengali, they're in Malayalam, they're in Hindi, they're in Marathi. So it's a very interesting mix. And the first one appeared in 1960. The film was called Chupi Chupi Ashe. It was a Bengali movie, and it was supposed to be based on Agatha's short story, The Mousetrap. The next film, of course, I told you about, Gumnaam, 1965, and it was a huge hit. Then in 1973 came Dhund, which was supposed to be based on Agatha's book, The Unexpected Guest. The Dhund means a fog. And I clearly remember seeing this film and loving it, because, the song, the title song also said, Dhund se aana hai aur dhund mein jana hai, which means you come from a fog and you go into a fog. And this whole story of an abused wife killing her husband and trying to hide it from an unexpected guest who appears one foggy night, and this whole concept and premise was so fascinating for me. I really enjoyed watching this film, Dhund. The next film that came on was Shubho Mahurat in 2003. This was again a Bengali film, and this film was supposed to be based on the novel The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side. In 2012 came Grand Master, a Malayalam movie, the tale of a police officer who's assigned a very strange murder case. And the movie is supposed to be loosely based on the ABC murders. In 2016, there was a film called Chora Bali. It was a closed room mystery set in North Kolkata and supposed to be based on the book The Cards on the Table. And interestingly, the book is supposed to be seen in one of the opening scenes. Another remake of And Then They Were None came in 2017. It was a Marathi filmmaker who admitted that he was really inspired by Christie books, and he directed this murder mystery called Asha's Eka Betavar, on an island. And the story is about a group of 9 different men and women who come from Mumbai to this island, and of course strange things start happening. Not just films, the theatre scene is also inspired by Agatha Christie's novels. In 2018, Making Noise Productions, who had earlier produced Agatha Christie's And They Were None, came back with another play. The play was called Go Back for Murder and was based on 5 Little Pigs. And the story takes place in the coastal town of Goa, where the scene of a mystery that happened 15 years ago was recreated. NCPA is a big theatre in India, and in 2020 they came up with their first big production, which was a retelling of The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side, but of course with the Indian flavor and for the Indian audience. Then in 2020 came another Hindi adaptation, a Hindi play adaptation called Dastak. Dastak means knock, and it was again based on And Then They Were None. But the poster was very interesting. It read, and I'm going to read the quote: 10 little Indians trapped on an isle, murdered one by one, finished off in style. Agatha Christie's books have been translated in many different languages, especially Hindi and Marathi. And I want to share some of the covers with you. So here they are: Murder on the Links, ABC Murders, Lord Edgware Dies, Hickory Dickory Dock, The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side, Murder on Orient Express, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, 450 from Paddington. When I think of the popularity of Agatha Christie's novels in India, I'm always very fascinated. You see, Indians are all about romance and family and emotions and values and tea, of course. And we like the grand, melodrama. And I think Christie's novels connected because of this, connected with the readers, Indian readers, because of this. Because I think she had a global vision. And of course, her plots were ingenious, but she had a global vision with her cross-referencing, with her characters which cut across nations, and her plots which was so fantastic. I mean, unimaginable grand finales. And I think all of this together connected with the Indian readers. We just kind of embraced and got engrossed in her plots and in her writings. And one of the reasons I think is because of her resilience. And I'm going to read out one of her quotes. I like living. I have sometimes been wildly, despairingly, acutely miserable, racked with sorrow. But through it all, I still know quite certainly that just to be alive is a grand thing. I think it is this resilience that shines through her work. And I think it is this resilience which connects with Indian readers, because Indians are, I would say, survivors, family-oriented, lovers of romance, culture. So all this, I think, was a good connection. Finally, I would like to conclude that despite time and distance, Agatha Christie could influence writers like me and weave an aura of magic and mystique in the readers of India, all the way to India, speaks for the greatness of the writer, and for me that is enough. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you.